Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing my birth story. So I'm gonna try and make this, detailed but short and sweet at the same time, because I've tried to make this and I made it way too long. So to give you the overall picture, and we are outside today and we have just everyone with us, everyone. Little man is inside sleeping, so he will be, I'll just insert a clip after. Okay, so anyways, just to give you the brief picture, I went into labor at 11:40 on April 24th, and then he ended up being born April 25th at 5:30 p.m. I did have an all-natural, unmedicated birth at a birth center. It was amazing. So I had been having back pain and like light cramping, like period cramps, the 2 nights before the 24th, and each morning I'd wake up, there'd be one of the times there was my mucus plug, and then the other time was the bloody show. And then the night after those 2 nights is when I went into labor. So I laid down to go to bed and I was feeling fine. I was having my typical Braxton Hicks, which I mentioned in my 29-week bump date. That they were getting stronger and more regular, I felt like, each night. So I knew it was coming, I just wasn't sure when. And I laid down that night, wondering, I wonder if this is the night. But I had been thinking that for so long that I was just like, no, Hannah, just go to bed. And then about 10 minutes after laying down, maybe 10-15, I got my first contraction. And I knew that people would be like, you'll know when you're in labor, because I had been questioning it each night that I felt something different. And I was like, how would you know? No, you just know. And it's obviously a more intense sensation. So got the first contraction, and then honestly contractions continued for about 30 minutes every 2 to 4 minutes. So I was thinking, I was like, from what I had read and stuff and from what they say, like, I am really progressed. I wasn't like thinking, it's the end's near or something like that, but I was thinking, wow, I guess I haven't been noticing my other contractions or something, and now they've gotten as intense enough to where I am. So about 30 minutes in, I decided, I was like pacing around. I tried to sleep, I tried to eat. I had a doula, I called her, kind of told her what was going on, and she's like, yes, try and eat and try and sleep. Well, she said try to sleep because it was the beginning of the night, and she knew with this being my first baby, it wasn't typically going to be a fast labor. So I tried to lay down and I just couldn't. It wasn't even like an anxious feeling or an anxiety, just the sensation alone I could not sleep through, and it kept coming so frequently that I just finally got up, and I went and I made this recipe. It's called Labor Aid, and it's like a drink you drink through labor. So I was really excited. I made that. I got in the shower in the tub because I was having severe back pain, and with each contraction, they say you'll get a contraction like a wave and then it'll go away. Well, the back pain was staying, so I was like, I'm gonna try and ease this back pain a little. So I got in the shower and then I kind of laid down in the tub, knowing that possibly it could stall your labor, but I was just kind of looking for relief from the back pain, which when I was in the tub, my contractions went to 5 minutes or a little longer between each one. So I only stayed in the tub for about 10 minutes, and then I got right back out. I went downstairs and I was like, I'm gonna turn on a comedy, because I had read that, to set the tone for your labor, watch something funny, get yourself laughing and in a really good mood. And since I wasn't sleeping anyways, I was like, I'm just gonna do it. By this time, my husband had realized that I was pacing around, and he ended up waking up with me, and we were watching, I decided on Talladega Nights, and we were watching it, and they were still coming about every 4 minutes, I'd say. And it was funny because I would be laughing, but then I get a contraction. I'm like, I don't want to be laughing, because it would just make the sensation more intense. And I'd say about 20 minutes into watching the movie, I was like, you know what, babe, you go to bed. I'm just gonna, try and lay here, maybe fall asleep, because I really wanted to fall asleep, because they always say in the beginning of labor, sleep, sleep, sleep. And so I was like, I'm gonna try and force myself, because I remember thinking, why don't women follow that rule? Why do they always stay up? And so he went back upstairs and went to bed, and I again tried to just watch the movie. I laid down on my side and tried to watch the movie, but they were just coming so frequently, same thing, same story, that I couldn't. And I just remember kind of, you know, I got on my labor ball for a little bit and I bounced on that, and that really felt good, I guess because it really eased the tension on my back with how you sit on it. And then I'd say about 3 o'clock, nothing had changed. It hadn't gotten more intense or gone away. I could still talk through them, but again, I checked in with my doula. She's like, you're fine, just call me in the morning. She's like probably thinking, all right, how long is this gonna go on? Because she was awesome. I doubt she would think that, but that's just was my thinking. I like felt bad calling her because I'm like, I remember talking to her before I went into labor and being like, I'm just gonna wait, I'll be fine, I'm gonna wait for so long. And so, but because my husband was asleep and I wanted him to get that sleep, I was like, I'm gonna call her just to ease my mind, have someone talk to me, and again, just get my mind off of thinking about everything. So, which I wasn't anxious, I was just, it had been a couple hours, and I'm like, all right, I need something to change the monotony that's going on right now. So then another couple hours went by. I say it would be like 6 something, and I called to check in with her, and they had gotten a little more intense, but nothing had necessarily changed. And I'd say about 8 o'clock, by this time my husband's up. I was doing the same thing. I was just kind of pacing around, drinking my labor aid, sitting down on the labor ball, sitting down on the couch, trying to lay down, trying to sit down. But all in all, just pacing around, because that's just kind of what I do when I'm in a new situation or a little bit uncomfortable. I just like to pace. So finally at about, I want to say 8, my doula, when I called her and I was like, yeah, I'm ready for you to come over here. And she got here about 8:30. I gave you guys the times because in the beginning because my time was completely whack. I was on labor time, I call it. I just got into the zone. So she came over, I want to say it was around 8:30, and she was like, you know what, let's get you back in the shower to help, because I was saying I have so much pressure in my back and in my butt, like it was just working its way down to my butt, seriously, literally on my butthole, on the inside. I know, too much information, but it's the truth. And so then she came over and she had me get in the shower, and she was like, you need to eat, because I said I hadn't eaten or slept or anything, and I didn't want any food. Like everything sounded so gross to eat. My appetite was just gone. I wasn't necessarily nauseous, it wasn't there. Like everything sounded nasty. So I was like, well, I'll have a protein drink, because at least I'll be able to swallow it and I don't have to like chew it like food. So I had my husband do that, but we ended up being out of our almond milk, and so we had to make it with water. So the protein drink was very chalky, and it was very hard for me to get down, and I was like sipping it, and I was like, ugh, like I'm in the shower. My doula's like, please, you need to eat. You don't know how long this is gonna last. And so then I got out of the shower, and I was like, you know what, I was telling her about my back pain and stuff. So in the midst of that, when she was on her way over to my house, I had called my chiropractor and just said, hey, I'm in labor, because she had said I could call her if I was and I could get an adjustment. And I was like, is it okay if I come by? And like, yes, come by whenever you want. So we ended up finally going to the chiropractor about, I thought it was around 9. Don't quote me on that. And I went in, and she basically, the massage therapist came in, massaged me sitting up. Normally I'd lay down with like a donut pillow when I was there during my pregnancy, but I was like, I can't lay down on my stomach at all, even with the donut pillow. So she massaged me during, in between contractions, and then they adjusted me between contractions. And then I was like, in the midst of being adjusted, I felt like stuff, not a gush, but trickles of stuff. So I guess that was my water kind of releasing. And after the chiropractor, things started to progress way more. I kind of got in the zone to where I was blacking everyone out. Sorry, there's gnats. But I was blacking everyone out, and everything was just more intense. Again, they were coming at around the same time frame, but I just had to get in the zone more and breathe through them. So I decided from the chiropractor I wanted to go to the birth center, and my plan was to wait as long as possible to go to the birth center. And now looking back, I'm glad I went when I did. I didn't go super early as I feel some people do, and I didn't go super late within like 2 hours, have the child there. But so we got in the car and went there, and I will say the car ride was very, not excruciating or traumatizing, but it was very uncomfortable. Each position, when you change, like the more into labor you get, when you change positions, your contractions get more intense for the first couple of contractions after you change position, if that makes sense. So sitting down in the car was a new position. I was like, ugh. But I was so thankful and so impressed by how my husband dealt with the whole situation, because normally he's a little turtle driver, and he knows I'm the opposite. I'm like, get where I'm going now. Especially when I was in labor, I was thinking please babe, drive like me. And he did. He drove smart, but he knew where he was going, and he was getting there as fast as legally possible. So we got to the birth center. We had called, my husband and them had called, and the nurse was out there with a wheelchair, where when we first left the chiropractor, I was thinking, no, I'll just walk in. But I am so thankful she met us at the door. The birth center's on the first floor anyways of the hospital, but that wheelchair ride was immaculate just because I had been sitting, so my contractions finally got a little less intense. So just going from the sitting in the car to sitting in the wheelchair was golden. And she wheeled me in, and I'm like, thank you. And by this time, again, stuff is just, I'm just in the labor zone, as I'd call it. And they bring me into my room I had picked out, and ooh, these snacks. And they're like, okay, what do you want? Do you want the peanut ball? Do you want the tub? Do you want the shower, the bed? What position do you want to be in? What do you want us to do? And I'm just like, I don't know. You go do whatever you need to do. At this time, my husband and the doula are parking, and I just was just, I don't know. I just remember being like, I'm sorry, I don't know. Just, you can do whatever you need to. I'm just going to walk around or do whatever. And they're like, okay. So then this is where it gets really foggy. So, because I just get into this, I don't know how to describe it. You just get into this instinctive zone. That's the best way I can describe it. Is it your instincts kick in. And I remember the doula and my husband coming back in, and I got in the shower for a little bit, and I sat. They had a big rain shower, and then I had a labor ball there that I sat on with the shower hitting my back, and that felt amazing. And then I got in the tub, and for a while it was just shower tub, shower tub, shower tub. I just was so in love with both of those. I never really had it in my head to be on the bed ever. It just never, even before I was in labor, sounded like something I'd really enjoy. So, and my position of choice, just to let you all know, was either a squatting, standing, or leaning against something. It was just, my body just wanted that. It didn't want to be laying down. That's just how it was. So I don't know how long that went on, to be honest, but all I know is that my first urge to push, and I never got to the point where I was like, I can't do this. It was just each surge, I was just breathing through it and taking moment by moment. I was just in each moment, and that's all I was thinking about, was the moment I was in. In between contractions, I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna just enjoy this time. And then when a surge came, I'm just okay, thinking through it, and then on to the next. You get it? So then I got my first urge to push. They call it urge. No, it's a reflex, for me at least. I just said it was, best way to describe it, and I've told everyone this, is it was the sensation of throwing up, but throwing downwards. That's the best way I can describe it. I had, honestly, not that much control. It was just my body was forcing everything downwards. And it didn't necessarily hurt anymore. I wouldn't call any part of labor pain. I would say it's just very intense, because pain to me is something that signals something's wrong, like a broken foot, or you're cut open, or you get cut. You get what I'm saying? So to me, yes, it's very intense, but you can handle it, especially if you have the mindset of handling it. So I was getting these urges to push over and over and over with each contraction. So they're like, you know what, let's bring the midwives in, or the midwife, and have her check you just in case. Because I had originally in my birth plan said I don't want to be checked, I don't want to know the time, because I didn't want anything to get in my head. But I was like, I understand if they want to check me to make sure I am at 10, since I am, my body's pushing. And they checked me, and she's like, oh, you're at a 7. But your cervix are extremely soft and thinned out and whatever. I will say that kind of pushed me backwards or discouraged me a little, because not because I wanted to be at a 10 and be pushing, but the fact that my body was doing this, I wasn't. So I was like, ooh, I'm gonna have to fight my body on this urge. And it's a very, very intense reflex. Again, similar to when you're throwing up. It's like, how do you stop from throwing up? You just do it. So I don't know how long I had to fight that urge, but I remember just like my doula being like, what's wrong? This is the first time you're looking so kind of discouraged or troublesome. And I was like, just because my body's pushing, and she said not to push, and I don't know how to stop it from pushing. And she's like, okay, well, let's go get another midwife and she'll check you now, because it had been, I don't know how long, but time had gone by. So she checked me and she's like, there's no cervix there, you're ready to go. And I was like, oh. I really didn't have a huge reaction to it, but I was like, I don't think, yeah, like good, there shouldn't be any there. So then I get in the tub, because I had told everyone I wanted to be there to do most of the pushing. And they're like, do you want to go on the toilet first? Because that's kind of where they start everyone, since you just naturally have the urge to relax everything and push. And I was like, yeah, I want to get in the tub. So I got in the tub, and I was in the tub for the longest time, just like pushing down like a warrior. Like, these noises were coming out of me I had no control over. This urge was coming, this reflex was coming over my body I didn't have control of. Not in a scary way, though. I don't want anyone to be scared. It was just like, it was almost like each time I was like, damn, this is crazy. That's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, this is crazy that my body's doing this. And I honestly, it's just doing it on its own. It's awesome. Seriously. And I was in the tub, and they're like, you know, I remember looking over at my midwife and thinking like, is this normal? Because I felt like I had been pushing for a while. And she's like, yeah, it's normal, you know. And I kept saying, I can do this. And they're like, you're doing it. And also, I had a birth playlist, but I only wanted to listen to one song, and that was this random instrumental song. And for some reason, that just resonated with me, and I wanted to hear it over and over and over. And out of all the songs on the playlist, my husband had to keep going back to it and back to it. Well, in the midst of this pushing and stuff, all of a sudden I was like, I think the head or something just popped out. And they're like, what? I was like, something just slid out of me. And I was like, it feels like jello. So then I was thinking, okay, this is like my bag of water or something. Obviously not the head. And it turned out, yeah, to be part of the water. And my husband's like, I'm like, it feels kind of uncomfortable. I had been sitting with it, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. And they're like, well, stand up. Let's see if we can get a good look. And when I stood up, it just slid out like a jellyfish. And I was like, my husband's like, that looks like a jellyfish. I was like, it felt like a jellyfish. And it was just part of the bag. So anyways, get back down after that happens. And they're like, do you want to get on the toilet? Like, they brought it up again. And I was like, yeah. So I got on the toilet for a little bit. Same thing. And I think I got back in the tub. This is where it starts to get fuzzy, because it's just like, as time went on, it just got more and more and more intense. And they were getting longer and longer and longer. So then after I was on the, on the toilet, I went back into the tub a little bit, and they're like, you know, put your hand down there, see if you can feel baby's head. And I could. It was like only that far in. But I had been pushing for so long, I remember checking, and I was like, he's not moving down. So maybe that's when they were like, get on the toilet, and then yada yada. Also, just to add another thing, they had essential oils at the birth center. My doula brought some, and I even had brought some. But the one that just spoke to my nose was peppermint. And I think peppermint smells good, but I mean, I wanted to smell the peppermint. It just smelled so good and fresh, refreshing and cooling to me. I was really hot, even though I was going from the tub and the shower and I wanted them warm, I was really hot. So my doula and my husband were putting ice cold towels on like my upper back and my neck and my forehead at all times, and thank you for that, because it felt so amazing and so refreshing, them just constantly changing those out. It felt so good. So anyways, I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, they're like, you've been pushing a while. I feel like I've been pushing for a while. The baby's head has been in the same place for a while. So like, let's get you up. And I'm like, okay. So I stand up out of the tub, another contraction hits, and I just like go to the ground to breathe it out. And they're like, let's get you stand during a contraction and squat, or stand in between contractions and squat to kind of get baby to come down. And I did that, I want to say 2 or 3 contractions. And they're like, let's get you on the bed with a peanut ball in between your legs. And honestly, in my head, I was like, oh no, I'm not having that. I'm staying either standing or squatting. Like, laying down just sounded horrible to me for some reason. So, but I was like, I'll try it, at this point. I'm like, I need to do what they say. So I get on the bed and a contraction hits. I get on my hands and knees. And they're like, we need to get you laid down. And I was like, I'm staying like this. And they checked and they're like, oh, well, baby's head's right there. So that's fine if that's what you want to do. And I think within 20 minutes, his head was out. And that was the most, out of all the intensity, when his head was emerging was the most intense part. And I remember just feeling him. I hadn't felt him until the very end. And feeling the sensation of his head coming out and then going back in. And it didn't discourage me, it kind of felt good, like a relief. And then with the next contraction, his head was out. And then I think 1 or 2 contractions later, his whole body was out. And I remember then when his head came out, they're like, okay, if you want to, either before his head came out or around this time, they're like, if you want to catch him, because that was originally my plan, you need to get in a different position. And I was like, I can't. Like, this is the position I'm meant to birth him in. And so my husband was like, I'll catch him. I'm like, thank you, babe, because originally he was just going to stand behind my shoulders. Oh, no, it completely changed. Like, he was all about it. I am so proud of him. He was so involved and just thank you, babe. Thank you for being such a good rock, and thank you to my doula. She was amazing, too. And all the midwives and staff, I just love them all. Like, I feel so connected to them now. Anyways, so then his head emerged, and then couple pushes later, his whole body came out, and I remember just feeling lots of fluid come out, rolling over on my back, and them just putting him right on my stomach and being like, oh my gosh, I just had a baby. This is my baby. So it was awesome. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I hope you guys didn't get too bored, and if you have any questions, let me know down below. I'm probably gonna make a video on how to successfully have a natural unmedicated birth, because it was something I had my heart set on for so long, and I just remember watching those videos over and over again to reassure myself and give myself confidence that I could do it. And yeah, so if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much for joining me like always, and in the next scene you'll see little man. I love you guys so much. Thanks again for your support. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook. I'm hardly on that, or Snapchat, all at Watermelon Hannah. And if you have any questions or that are more personal, feel free to message me on any of those as well. Thank you all. Peace. Do you want to say hi to everyone? Do you want to say, oh, you're going to go back to sleep now? Here he is. My little due date baby. You little sleepyhead? Look at his cute little hair. I guess he went back to sleep. He was up. Oh, are you waking up? Are you going to say hi to everyone? Yeah, they've been watching you grow in Mama's belly. Yeah. Yeah, tell them. Tell them you are all about that positive life.